was so ashamed of myself when I listened to the Secretary to the Government. The Secretary to the Government of Federation, I mean, he's an experienced person. 2-term governor, 2-term senator, and now Secretary to Government. And when he was governor of Benue State, he handled conflicts. Because there was conflict between Benue and neighboring state. And he was able to manage it well. I think the problem we have currently is that this initiation with this cap that has ring, once you wear that cap, your brain also will evaporate. Because Daniel Bwala said this before he joined them. He said, once you join APC, your brain will evaporate. So I think maybe that is...
Are you speaking to about yourself too? Because you are an APC.
I'm a founding, I didn't join.
Okay, well, yeah, you are...
Bwala said, once you join. So it means we were the men, people who concocted the real thing, which is APC, that when you join, your brain will evaporate. So he said that. Otherwise, how would the Secretary to Government of the Federation of a country like Nigeria, with all the brains we'll have, with all the brilliant people who have made this country great, there's nowhere a Nigerian goes that is not respected because of his, his intellectual acumen, that he will make such a statement, that the statement from President Donald Trump is what has speckled. Okay, if Donald Trump has made such statement and the bandits have intensified their attack, what is their own effort of tackling the insurgency? What have they done?
But the soldiers, the armed forces said, look, their own explanation was that, look, it's because of the successes we have achieved in the recently that have now sort of made the, correspondingly, rather made the terrorists or the bandits to now spike their activities. That's with the recent, kidnappings, the killings of soldiers, the ambushing in all these areas you've mentioned.
No, we have more stories of the success of the terrorists than that of the military. And the military should not assume that we are still living in the Magumpak age. We are living in a sophisticated, information-driven technology where information is available at the fingertip. So we have more successes of the terrorists. The one that is so painful to me, which if they have reacted, we should have also known, is the killing of one of the beautiful and gallant patriots, Brigadier General Musa Uba, who, if you look at how he died, you will salute, because he was a soldier. He survived an ambush, maneuvered in an ambush which many lost their lives, and as a result of that got detached to his perimeter security, survived in the bush for many days, just to be captured when he got connected to the system. There are so many questions about the killing of Brigadier General Uba that had remained unanswered. A brigadier general, a brigade commander, commands 5 battalions and command a minimum of 3,000 and a maximum of 5,000 troops. He doesn't move until it is clear. And his movement is backed up with certain security assets involving armored and air surveillance. Where all these assets deployed when General Uba advanced in a hot war theater where Dambua is neighborhood to where ISWAP were. So the military, we have been praying for them.
Okay, let me link that up with the statement by the Kebbi State governor, in which he said the abduction of the girls at that secondary school was enabled when suddenly the military withdrew inexplicably. And then, of course, he now laid allegations that there are saboteurs, there are probably saboteurs within the military setup that actually enabled these terrorists. And this accusation has been going on for quite some time now. Can you put the nexus in all of this?
The rogue elements have infiltrated our security system for too long. Even the security system is aware. But I think their inability to deal with it is what has even made them vulnerable. And we're likely going to have more great officers falling. Because the rogue elements are part and parcel of the partnership of terrorism, beneficiaries. So it's a network they belong to. So for them, terrorism is gain. Nigeria is lost. And patriotic elements within the security system, the military, are targets. So they are targets within the system and targets outside the system. What the Kebbi State Governor has said has been the pattern. Before the abduction of Dakchi girls, the military that were deployed to that school left about an hour before the terrorists attacked and kidnapped those girls. So it's a familiar pattern that we should be ashamed of discussing it, because we should have been able to now move ahead of it. But you see, it's still happening. So the unanswered question, which the military would have taken it as part of their successes, to explain to Nigerians why would a deployment evaporate operationally within 30 minutes and 25 young girls between the ages of 12 to 16 will be kidnapped. The principal and one other person were killed and marched into the bush.
Let me get your perspective on this. There are a school of thought that believes that some of these kidnappings of young schoolgirls, young people, and secondary school, tertiary institutions, is actually tied to the fact that there's a threat coming from President Trump of America, and that these kidnappings, which will spike, from the look of things, is also intended to make these kidnapped school children as hostages, as against any possible attack that will come from the Americans.
It's a defeatist line of thought of very lazy minds. Even if the terrorists kidnap the whole girls in Nigeria, Americans have the capacity to rescue the girls and destroy the terrorists. An American was kidnapped in Nigeria. America moved into Nigeria, rescued their citizens. We were here looking like monkungs in Nigeria until they finished the operation before we knew. So it is not an explanation at all. The Americans look, even if the whole girls in Nigeria are kidnapped, the American will conduct an operation, rescue those girls, and destroy the terrorist network. So all those advancing the line of thoughts are either lazy minds or they are terrorist apologists who are afraid of Trump coming. For me, I don't want Trump to come, except the Nigerian government will deal with the situation decisively. And the military or the Nigerian state that is offering this explanation, how much have they done since this thing started? For all these 7 days, it is news about the success of the terrorists. So the coming of Donald Trump can only be stopped but by decisive dealing with the terrorists. And if the Nigerian government wants us to join in trying to save Nigerian sovereignty, let them publish the names of terrorist sponsors and enabler. The first thing, once they do that, we will say, oh, Nigeria is now getting serious. We now know the terrorists, the one in the government, the one in the business sector, the one in the church, the one in the mosque, and the one in the bush. Then we will come out and tell Nigerians, look, the government now is looking serious.
But President Tinubu just said it when he made changes in the military hierarchy just recently. He gave marching orders to the military hierarchy to go and to redouble their efforts. And also, just recently, I think a couple of days, that he said he shelved his trip to South Africa for the G20 summit to enable him sit down in Nigeria and take charge of these situations. So can you say the government, can you truly say the government has not done anything at all?
No, I think I should congratulate President TINUBU for deceiving us again. I've been in government. Throughout President Buhari's time, each time there was attack, government would say, we condemn, we were on top of the situation, we will deal. The moment the president makes this statement, the terrorists become emboldened and attack more. So, what has spiked up this current attack is the statement of government that President TINUBU has said, oh, I have changed the service chiefs, we want to rejig. Oh, at this very serious statement, do we need to know that one? When the terrorists are planning to kidnap and kill generals, do they announce it? Why would a serious government trying to deal with an existential threat like this go on the propaganda of telling Nigerians, making us to think that we are safe so that we will not loosen up and the terrorists will be kidnapping us? When the Americans came here and rescued their citizens, did you hear anything from America? Until when they finish. A very serious government will not be discussing security issues on the television.
So in effect, what you are saying is that, you know, well, you do agree with the assertion or allegation that the terrorists are all sort of like testing the resolve of government. Since the President TINUBU has come to say, I've given you marching orders and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, are you in effect agreeing to the fact that the terrorists are testing the resolve of the government?
I'm vehemently disagreeing. The terrorists are not testing. The terrorists are ahead. Somebody who is ahead of you cannot test your resolve. Let us not pretend. I mean, you look at the way they are kidnapping with impunity, recklessly. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. They have moved from Niger and then Bauchi. And we don't know where they will go. So is that testing of resolve? No. They are setting the agenda for the Nigerian state to follow like a zombie. The terrorists are ahead of us. But let me tell you, the Nigerian military that I know today, the problem is lack of a political will. Even if you are going to give the Nigerian soldiers sticks and you ask them to flush this idiot with their weapon, I swear, the Nigerian soldiers in less than 2 weeks, they will clear them off.
Can you break down what this absence of political, what does it mean? What really does it mean? People say political will, lack of political. What really does it mean?
A political will is the determination of a leader to deal radically with an existential threat, even if it will be at the expense of his own survival.
And you think that is lacking?
Completely. Completely. Listen to what Najatu said. You see, Najatu said something. I confronted the president before he was elected and asked him, what do you have on the table for the North? He said he has nothing. What of insecurity? I don't want to venture into it so that I will not be killed. A leader must put his life on the line before that of his country. If I, Solomon Selkab DALUNG, today will be the president of Nigeria, I will say my last prayers when I will say, so help me God, because I'm not sure I'm going to come back alive. Because what it requires for me to be a president of Nigeria means selfless sacrifice. And selfless sacrifice means your own life must first be declared worthless. I'm not going to buy any aircraft, no. I may even, because Nigerians now are living at the poverty level. So my executive car may be something lower that will represent the situation.
But on that, I mean, allied to that, there was, with all these issues taking place in the North, you know, kidnappings, banditry and all that, and virtual state of insecurity, and almost like a season of anomie in the North, the ACF, that's the apex organization of northern interests in this country, just recently held a fundraiser. Is that what they should be doing at this point in time when some of the issues, existential issues in the North are happening? You were there, were you not?
I went to Kaduna on a protest because we lawyers, if you are invited or a court serve you with a process which is defective, you don't sit back. You go to court and tell the judge, I'm here but on protest. And you draw the attention of the judge. So I went to Kaduna, and of course I spoke with journalists and said, look, we had no business to have been gathering here at all. Because the North, which the social cultural organization purported to be representing, the North is facing an existential threat. We have so many of our daughters kidnapped, and they are in the bush under the sun without food, facing threats from reptiles, etc. So even if we had planned this celebration, this development called for suspension of it.
Okay, well, let's look at the political firmament in Nigeria. Recently, there were fisticuffs at the PDP headquarters involving two factions of the same party. And then also, I don't know whether you are a member of that party, ADC, opened up its new headquarters in Abuja. So, and then it's beginning to look as if the political, firmament is warming up. And I believe you are going to be one of those people. Can you tell us, give us, your own perspective on this? Are we going to really have a rough ride to 2027, or are we really going to have it, at the end of the day, we are going to resolve it as usual in the Nigerian sense?
I'm a revolutionary Democrat and an activist. An activist actually set the tune of opposition in Nigeria. We will start criticizing the government, and when it gains momentum, politicians will now form association and take over from there. I started the campaign against Jonathan government in 2009 when he was coronated by the National Assembly as acting president, and I said it was an affront on the Constitution. And from that day, I continued criticizing the government. When it started gathering momentum, politicians started migrating from all over. They congregated, and then they formed Save Nigeria first. And the Save Nigeria was the very organization that that wrote the letter and invited Trump. Trump is coming at that invitation. Let us not deceive ourselves. They wrote as non-state actors. Buhari, TINUBU, Tunde Bakare, Femi Falana, Wole Soyinka. All these were members of the group that invited Trump to come and save Christians under Jonathan, because they were killing Christians. They were throwing bombs in churches, left, right, and center. Now, Obama wanted to interfere by the invitation. He couldn't do it. He left the letter. Trump came in. Trump saw the letter. Trump approved the letter. But Buhari went to US, and immediately Trump saw him. The first question, why are you killing Christians in Nigeria? Buhari negotiated, which led to the partnership between US and Nigeria that we are going to deal with terrorism, which has to do with funding and the provision of military hardware, drones, training.
Okay,
all these things.
We seem to be having,
yes,
time constraints, but I just want to use this little time to ask you two questions. One, recently the National Security Advisor was in Washington to try to discuss on this issue, and also the issue of the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. Don't you think, especially the case of Nnamdi Kanu, don't you think this will set the stage for more political instability as we move to 2027?
I will answer just them like a lawyer's answer. The PDP crisis is self-inflicted by a member of PDP who is also an APC member. The essence of what the crisis in PDP is that President TINUBU does not want to contest election with any solid candidate or a weak one. So that's why you see what is going on there. So they are at all costs trying to destroy PDP. Back to the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. The conviction of Nnamdi Kanu by the court in Abuja, the judge has convicted him and has given his reasons for conviction. The matter from the position of Nnamdi Kanu is going to be appealed against. So we wait for the court of appeal and hear what it is. The visit of Nuhu Ribadu to Washington is just for them to amass extra court. But it was a wasted trip that no any sound and sane country will embark on such diplomatic approach.
Thank you very much. Barrister Solomon Dalung, it's our pleasure to have you on this platform. We appreciate